Today, I'm going to teach you my tried and true 4-step process on how to figure out how much to pay yourself as an entrepreneur. I use it and it always works. So I'm going to give it to you today.
You an entrepreneur, I got what you need.
Hey guys, so sorry for that interruption. Anyway, where was I? Welcome back to CPTV. I'm CP, and you are in the place for aspiring and growing entrepreneurs who want to turn their passions into businesses and their businesses into freedom. If that sounds good to you, then go ahead and subscribe, because you are going to want to be here every single Tuesday, because I give you the training on the step-by-step business processes that you can implement immediately into your journey and life so that you can get to that level of entrepreneurial freedom that you deserve and so desire. So you heard me. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button and click that bell so you won't miss any of it. And of course, if you like it, then show me. Smash that like button and tell me what you think in the comments below. So last week, before I was so rudely interrupted, we talked about the 2 ways that you can pay yourself as an entrepreneur. And we dove into owner's draws versus salaries, and even touched upon what's a reasonable salary from the IRS. So if you missed that, go ahead and check it out. I'm going to link to it right here. And I promised you that this week we would be focusing on how much to pay yourself as an entrepreneur. And I keep my promises, boo. So let's talk. Because if you're at a point in your business journey where you are ready to start paying yourself, congratulations. That is exciting, but it can also be really, really daunting and scary, especially if you can't really wrap your mind around how much you should actually be paying yourself. I mean, I get it. It's a fine balance, isn't it? I mean, you deserve to be paid, but you also don't want your business to fail because of that. So today, I'm going to teach you my tried and true 4-step process on how to figure out how much to pay yourself as an entrepreneur. I use it and it always works. So I'm going to give it to you today. So let's get to work. Okay, step number 1, set up your financials. I know I sound like a broken record. I get on this soapbox a lot with you guys. I tell you this over and over and over again. I've even done a video on how to actually do that. So I'm going to go ahead and link to that right now as well, because you have to set up your financials. It is a step that a lot of entrepreneurs skip. They just go and get their tax ID. They may even get the bank account, but they never actually set up any kind of financial systems or structure so they can track their numbers. Well, you've got to get that set up before you'll even have any idea of where your business stands and what you can potentially pay yourself. So you have to be able to track your expenses very, very closely, your revenue very, very closely, so that you can project what's supposed to be coming in. You can set targets and goals for yourself from a sales and revenue perspective, and you can also control your expenses. You've got to set up your financials. You've got to get that software that I've told you about before hooked all together so that everything coming in and out is being tracked. You've got to make sure you've got a business account so that whatever you swipe that business card or whatever your expenses are coming out of the right place so that you can keep track of it. And you have to make sure that when you're getting paid, it's going into your business, because a part of paying yourself is taking money out of that business. But if you don't know what's going in, you've set up nothing in order to be able to know, then you're not going to be able to come up with a magic number to actually take out and give to yourself. And that's why setting up your financials is the very first step. If you skip that, you will always be guessing, you will always be winging it, and you'll never come up with a real concrete number. It'll be inconsistent, you'll be unmotivated, and you won't be making any money. So make sure you don't skip this step, especially in order to get to step number 2. And step number 2 is know your expenses, profits, and have a budget. Now, I get caught up in this budget conversation all the time. The only way that you are going to have a budget as a startup business or even as a growing entrepreneur is by setting up your financials, just like we just talked about in step number 1, and accurately keeping track of them and reconciling them. Now, a budget is going to be something the very first time that you set up in your business, you're going to be guessing. Now, I'm not saying guessing like out of the blue, just randomly guessing. I'm saying you're going to put a budget together based upon your research and what you know different things that go into your business actually cost. And that budget is going to be your basis of which you want to kind of stay within as much as possible. But in that first year, your budget is going to be very fluid and very flexible. And it's really going to help you, if you're tracking and knowing those numbers, come up with a real, true, concrete, more accurate budget in years to come. But you've got to start somewhere. So you've got to know what your expenses are in order to know what you have left. You have to know your profits. And remember, I said profits, not revenue. And by profits, I mean what's left over after your expenses. And then you have to be able to budget what your revenues are going to look like and what those expenses are going to look like in the future in order to figure out how much wiggle room you have in actually being able to pay yourself. That's why step 2 is to track all that stuff, to know all of those numbers so that you can make a real, true business-wise decision moving forward. Your salary and how much you pay yourself is tied to knowing exactly where you stand. And if you don't know and keep track of those numbers, you're never going to be able to come up with what legitimately you can pay yourself and not kill your business in the meantime. Now, step number 3 might seem like a no-brainer, but it's drive profits, right? Driving profits means keeping your expenses low and keeping your revenue high. Now, this might seem like a no-brainer because it's the name of the game of having a business, right? You ultimately want to sell a lot of stuff so that you can drive a lot of revenue. And it's all tied back to step number 1 and step number 2. If you don't keep track, if you don't have the proper financial setup, you can't keep track of your expenses. And if you don't keep track of your expenses, you won't know how to keep them as low as possible. Because in my method of paying myself, it's all based off of your profits, which I'm going to get to here shortly. And profits are really what's left over after your expenses. Remember? So you've got to make sure that you're keeping your organization as efficient and as cost effective as possible so that you can increase your profits and you can pay yourself even more. So keeping track of those expenses and keeping them low and driving those profits will really impact that salary number that you're able to dish out for you. And step number 4, and this is my favorite, this is the biggie, and this is the hack that I was talking about. I want you to apply my 20, 30, 50 rule.
What you talking about, Willis?
No, seriously, I apply a 20, 30, 50 rule to how much I pay myself. In essence, it means this: 50% of my profit stays in my business for growth and expansion. 30% of my profit is set aside to pay my team so I can grow even more. And then 20% of my profit is what I pay myself. Now, this is what I call the profit pay method. And I love it because I get paid based upon how well my business does, just like most CEOs out there do. If the business does well, I get more. If it doesn't, I don't either. It motivates me, but also keeps me from crossing that fine line that I mentioned in the beginning, right? Paying myself too much and killing my business. And that's why steps 1, 2, and 3 are so important, because I can't do that if I have no idea what my profits are. So let me give you an example of what this will look like in your business and what it has looked like in mine. Let's say you made $100,000 in profit last year. Now, are you listening to the words that are coming out of my mouth?
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
I said profit. That means what you have left over after expenses. I did not say total revenue, baby, okay? Anyway, Let's say you made $100,000 in profits last year. Well, when you apply my 20, 30, 50 rule, that means $50,000 will stay in your business to offset budget increases and to allow for real true growth and investment in your business. Then $30,000 will be set aside so you can build out that team of yours and begin to delegate. And that means that your salary for the following year is going to be a minimum of $20,000. Now, I say a minimum because if after the first quarter you see that you are on pace to make $500,000 in profit, then you can afford to give yourself a bonus or a raise. Because you know, with that same 20, 30, 50 rule, if you do hit that $500,000 profit mark, then your salary is going to be $100,000 instead of just 20. And you still have enough money to continue to grow, build, and budget. You get it? Good. Now, obviously, I can't tell you, go out and pay yourself $50,000 a year, boo, if you can't afford that. It really is dependent upon the stage that you are in your business. Whether you're in startup or growth stage, or are even profitable at all those things matter. And I'm going to be honest with you. My first 2 to 3 years in business, my salary was minimum to nothing. Okay. I was investing almost 100% of my profits back into the business because I wanted to grow that much faster. And because I made that decision and that sacrifice, I did grow that much faster. But it was hard and it was definitely a sacrifice, required a mindset, but it was so worth it. It's just what I had to do in order to grow my business. Now, my business was barely making any money or any profits. I couldn't have taken all the money out of it. So it is what it is. And that may be the case for you too. You may be in the beginning and you may have to forego paying yourself in the beginning. That's okay. You're not abnormal. You're not making a bad decision. And most importantly, you're not going to stay like that forever, right? As long as you set up and grow your business the right ways. And yes, I'm going to keep teaching you how to do exactly that on CPTV, because that's what I do, all right? I teach you how to set it up and get it growing. So don't forget to subscribe so you can get all that good knowledge. Smash that like button. If you have any questions at all, let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to come and check me out next week and every single week after that. And don't forget to share this video. And until next time, my loves, stay safe. Bye-bye. Mwah!